So who are you?
So my name is Nick Davies, and I am the founder of Neighbourly.com.
And what is Neighbourly?
So Neighbourly is a social platform designed to connect companies to community projects. It's really born of the insight that a few years ago, just before the recession, and certainly through the teeth of the recession, business had a real wake-up call that their brands weren't trusted anymore, that people couldn't trust them to do the right thing for society, that they were all about profit. And at the same time, local communities were finding that local funding from the local council was in decline because there isn't the public budget that there used to be. So this created a bit of almost a perfect storm of opportunity. Projects saying to business, come on, what are you going to do to step up and actually be meaningful? And companies saying, well, we need to find a way of engaging at a grassroots level. As we get more global, we're sort of losing touch with local. And Neighbourly is designed as the first digital marketplace designed to try and connect the two together.
And what sort of government participation have you had in this project?
None so far. I think that the government will show interest when they can start to think about how business could step in and start to fill the hole that government funding will inevitably leave as we continue through this public spending decline. Governments increasingly, in all the conversations I've had, starting to think about how to use their limited budgets in a way to encourage others, almost as seed money. So how could government encourage business to get involved in initiatives that they like and support and are prepared to put their weight behind, in a way that business thinks, actually, this is a great partnership opportunity. So nothing yet, but I believe it'll come because Neighbourly is designed to engage all stakeholders around the concept of giving together.
Could you take us through a user journey from the perspective of an organisation and also from the perspective of a layperson, as it were?
Yeah, okay. Let's start with a company and let's talk about Marks and Spencer's. Let's use them as a case study. They're our founding company and they've got the furthest with the Neighbourly platform. What they recognised was, as a retailer, they get lots of requests for help at every single store, every single week, and it's very hard to do anything meaningful with those requests because they just don't have a system that's able to cope with it. And so what they found with Neighbourly was we made it very easy for them to find and engage with projects that they liked the look of, that really fitted their expertise. And so in their first foray with Neighbourly, they just proved that it worked and it made life easier. On that basis, they thought, well, actually, we could scale this out. We could connect every single store to a local community project. And what's brilliant about that is we're empowering the local staff to choose. And that's really important if you want your colleagues, your staff, to get behind local community projects, to volunteer or to fundraise. If they can choose that project, that's really meaningful to them. But at the same time, Marks and Spencer's were able to use the site to say, these are the types of projects that we want. We want them in this particular category. This fits the sort of thing that Marks and Spencer's would like to do. So they connected every single store to a local project. Having done that, they've now thought about creating whole new campaigns because Neighbourly exists. So they've started something called Spark Something Good, and that program will visit 24 cities in the next 24 months, and every time they go to a city they will find 24 projects. And what they're doing with that is they're activating the store to say, we will bring some colleagues to come and volunteer, we'll bring a bit of money to help the projects see through what it is that they need, but we're also going to encourage our customers, our local customers, to come and volunteer with us and to put their money in alongside us. And that's the real vision for Neighbourly. It is about being Neighbourly, collaborating together. Because I meet many people that believe they should be doing more. They think they should volunteer, the right thing to do today. But a lot of people don't really know where to start. And perhaps they're stepping out of their comfort zone. If a company that you shop from and you have a close relationship with invites you to come and join them in volunteering, that's a real catalyst moment. And what Marks and Spencer's have identified is actually we have an opportunity to really show some leadership here, to go out city by city, to encourage our customers to come along, but in doing so, really make our staff feel great about working for Marks and Spencer's. And that's where you get to a win-win-win. Everybody wins. It's good for business, it's good for society, it's good for the people that participate. That's what Neighbourly should be used for.
So I'm the marketing director of a Marks and Spencer's equivalent, and I want to get involved with the Neighbourly programme.
Yeah.
What do I do next? Do I write to you, or do I go to the website to register? Does my organisation need to qualify in a certain way in order to work with you?
Not at all. This is designed for any company, and what I would say in your situation is go to Neighbourly. You'll find a couple of pages specific to business that explain what it is that Neighbourly does. In this first phase, we're doing a bit of support for companies because we haven't quite finished all of the help guides that we need to put in order to make it entirely intuitive and to make it fully automatic for you to sign up. But within a matter of months, it'll be possible for the biggest companies and even small local SMEs to sign up to Neighbourly at the equivalent. So a company of any size should be able to use Neighbourly, from the biggest down to a local company. Just has a small amount of money that it wants to put into a handful of local projects. It's designed for everybody, because the way it works is we charge a monthly subscription for a company coming onto the platform. That's really important because we charge nothing to projects. We take no commissions from anything that's given to them. It's entirely free. And so we're probably, I think, the only model that works in that way. If you're a large company, we will want to help you design campaigns and gradually start to integrate your marketing spend into what you do. And I'll come back to that point because it's critical to the vision of Neighbourly. But you should be able to learn all you need to do to get started entirely from the site.
To get an idea of what would, let's say if Waitrose wanted to become involved, how much would they have to pay to register?
So you don't pay anything to, let me think about how to answer the question. Right. With a big company like Waitrose, we would very much recommend that you start with a pilot, because every single company wants to work sort of the same but slightly different. And a large part of that is because of their internal communication systems for activating their staff. So we would probably price to do a pilot, and we would really try to cover our costs in the time of supporting them through that pilot. That might be 3 or 4 months, where we can back a few projects, show that the platform works, and tell a story. Now, this is a really important dynamic of Neighbourly because, yes, we're a digital marketplace, a tool, but we're really about storytelling. We're about content, because it's content that inspires more people to come and get involved, more members of staff and more members of the public. So through that pilot, we try and make a film. We try and provide some sort of staff engagement feedback and a little bit of customer sentiment feedback. And that would be the information that the team would take to the board to say that we could go bigger and we could roll this out. So the subscriptions are really dependent on how much you choose to do. Neighbourly was originally designed to connect funding and volunteering, but we've also worked out how to turn our technology so that it runs in reverse, so the company can actually say, we've got this project, and that might be food waste at the back of the store at the end of a given day. Which community project wants to back it off us? So it's the same functionality, but we can use it to redistribute food waste. So for Marks and Spencer's, they're doing volunteering and funding, and we're connecting food waste. So we become an all-in-one proposition for Marks and Spencer's to show their authentic purpose. It becomes a very powerful tool for them.
So it's a real thing as well as effectively a marketing campaign that you're providing.
So this is the really interesting point. It starts out as being about authentic actions.
Yes.
And what we are there is, we are the action tool. And what we would hope is that a company says, here's the big idea. This is the thing that we're striving to achieve. And these are the communications that we're pushing out to try and inspire people around that big idea. But go to Neighbourly and you can see all the action that we're actually delivering and helping to facilitate. And for the modern brand, it needs 2 parts. You can't just tell everybody what you think you stand for. You've got to show what you stand for. Now, to the point about marketing, as an ex-marketeer, and that's my backstory, I'm ex-agency, I know that in the 20 to 22 billion pounds that's spent on advertising every year, and just in the UK, 15%, maybe a lot more of that is underperforming. If we can prove that by putting money into community projects, by showing a return on investment and creating a new channel and comparing that to traditional ways of engaging, we can move more marketing money into not just delivering those projects, but actually talking about, sharing those projects and turning that into really powerful content. So the journey we're going on with brands is we start out usually with, in Marks and Spencer's, the Plan A team, the CSR team, and then the HR team gets involved because there's an employee engagement piece here that is really motivating for them. And gradually we build the relationship until marketing says, wow, this is powerful. We can tell hundreds of granular, authentic stories at a local community level with Neighbourly. We should do more of that. And that's where we're getting to with our founder brands like Marks and Spencer's and Starbucks and Heineken.
So what is the calculation within the marketing departments of these large organisations? How do they... I'm going after you for let's call it a hypothetical example of how much this would cost, or a campaign with authentic action through you would cost the marketing department of a large organisation. Just as an example, because a marketing director, despite the fact that there's a necessity for organisations to put back into society, will also have to make a financial calculation as to the effectiveness of this as well. Yeah. So are you able to give us possibly a hypothetical example of how much this costs?
Of course, okay. So there are several components to the way you would pay for the Neighbourly service and then provide a layer of creativity and engagement over the top. Food and connecting food is the place where there is the most obvious linear cost, because at the moment companies have to pay for disposal and landfill. So what we can show is that there's an offset in redistributing some of that food, and there's a huge reputational halo of doing the right thing rather than sending it to waste. So we can estimate that a large supermarket network could pay a fee per annum of between £120,000 and £180,000 a year, usually working at about £300 per store, and that looks like good value to a supermarket that has got to deal with the waste but can see the real relational story that they're building over the top of it. That's one particular component as to how to price food. When it comes to how you engage with community projects, we're very deliberate that we want to create a flat fee per month, because we want to encourage companies to get more value the more they do. The more volunteering, the more money they put in. We're not taking a commission on that. We're trying to encourage everybody to do more. If you're a big FMCG organisation or a retailer that's connecting multiple locations and you have an intention to redistribute hundreds of thousands of pounds in volunteering hours, your annual subscription might be around £50,000 to £60,000 as a benchmark. What we want to do is bring that down so that a small regional company is paying hundreds of pounds a year, because what we're trying to do is make sure it's proportionate to the amount that they have got to give, if you see what I mean. So we've got to create that sliding scale, and we're working out how to do this at this point in time. Neighbourly's also, it's a global opportunity. We've already launched in the Netherlands, and we're now costing out how to go to our next cluster of countries, because many of the brands that we're working with and now talking to, such as British Airways and NatWest and BT and Microsoft, they all want one platform that has all giving in one place, but is also international, because it's the tool that they want to use. It's the tool they're all seeking.
So it's a real sort of think global, act local concept, back to Pepsi. Or is it Coca-Cola? I always get muddled.
I've actually done it. I've created something where it actually makes sense to say think local, act local. Yes, that's true.
If I can take you back to the individual user journey, let's say I've read about you, I've seen you on social media, and I'd like to register with Neighbourly. What happens?
That's very easy. So you come up. What we're trying to get right is the balance between engaging with the project and feeling that you can do something, And then gradually, as it becomes relevant to you, signing up. What we hope is that in due course, everyone understands that yes, they should be volunteering, but they also understand the fundamental concept that Neighbourly is built around, which is digital noise. The simple premise of digital noise is if a community is really noisy on the Neighbourly platform, then a company is more likely to hear about them. The way it works is through an algorithm that does a match and rank. So we're looking for projects that fit the criteria set by the companies, but then we're ranking those projects according to which are the noisiest. So it's very easy for someone to come along and make a difference just by sharing, just by clicking like and supporting. They're making a difference. And that's really important for democratising the way small local community works. At the moment, it's usually 3 or 4 people who do a huge amount of work to try and make something happen. And a lot of other people say, I respect what they're doing for our community, but I don't know how to help. I haven't got any time. Well, we're trying to make that such a low bar of entry so that people feel, actually, I can do something just by showing up on this platform. And what we hope in a few years' time is that we've created a behaviour change where people in society say, I'm going to go and look at Facebook for 15 minutes in an evening, but I'm going to jump over to Neighbourly too and look at that for 5 minutes and look at the 5 projects in my community, see what's happened, like some of the photos, maybe go along to an event, upload some of my own photos and volunteer when I can and put in 10 or 20 pounds when I can. And we're trying to create that behaviour. So for an individual, you should come to Neighbourly and you should be inspired by what you see to a point where you think, actually, it's worth me signing up for this so that I can play my part. And the real insight to Neighbourly is it's all designed around collaboration. You should be inspired. We want to make you feel great about the things that you see. And we want to make you realise, when some people say, what can I do? It's just me. I won't make a difference. Well, you will if you're part of the movement. And that's what Neighbourly is trying to build.
Can I take you back to the big issues? Can you tell us about one of the United Nations development goals that you're trying to address? I believe it's 12.3.
12.3 is the goal that most food organisations are really concerned about, and that's about food waste. As Neighbourly, what we think we'll do in the future, and we're really talking about the future here, is I sit on the steering group of something called UK SSD, which is an organisation designed to deliver the sustainable goals in the UK. And it's really interesting that whether you talk to business or government, everybody believes that the ordinary citizen must and will understand the 17 goals. That's quite ambitious, I think, because there's quite a lot of detail in there. But interestingly, business is responding at an incredible rate to say, right, they're here, we're going to adopt them, and we're going to make sure we're delivering against them. What I believe needs to happen is that business and organisations like Neighbourly need to translate those 17 goals into things that mean something to people where they live. And that's fundamentally about well-being and fairness. Those are the 2 things that actually fit to all the 17 goals. But I suppose that's the humanising of them that makes them relevant. We will, at some point in the future, we'll change our categories. We've got 10 at the moment, and we'll adopt the 17 global goals and make them our categories, because it's really easy to do. We don't have to put a big stamp over them to say these are the SDGs and confuse everybody. We just need to adopt the same categories. And gradually, with the brands who lead consumers and citizens on this journey, will make it more apparent that actually the things that you do in Neighbourly are actually making your contribution to the global goals, and that will gradually become more powerful. And it brings an important point about the brands that we work with. The ones that are starting out now are using the platform to listen to communities and say, what do you need help with? If you look at Marks and Spencer's and Starbucks, they put a lot of effort into the platform, and they're listening to what society wants. But in the very near future, companies will start to brief society and say, this is what we want to do. We believe that as BT, that there are 3 goals that really fit our expertise where we can make a really big difference. And we're going to ask society to come and join in with us. And you can use Neighbourly and Neighbourly pages in that way to say, we want to put £2 million behind community projects around Goal 7. these are the things that we're looking for. Spread the word. Tell us about your projects. Choose this tag if your project fits this campaign idea, and we might be able to support you. And that's where business starts to show its leadership around the goals and using Neighbourly to do that. Then business can start to think collaboratively, because actually many companies, non-competing, may all believe that they can make the biggest impact against one goal. But Neighbourly also has a group feature. So the group of companies can cluster together around one campaign idea and say, we're all standing for this. Hey, look at us. Business is a force for good, because we're all adding our money and our volunteering together. And between us, we'll make a big impact. And again, that's what business wants to do.
Can you give us an example of how, on a practical level, your projects are addressing point 12, addressing food wastage?
Yes, okay. So we've got lots of projects in the Neighbourly platform that are the obvious ones, like food banks, which are redistributing food. But we've also got community cafes, we've got food cooking and hygiene classes being run at a community level to show people how to cook. But if they want to do that, they have to have supplies, and it's brilliant to use surplus food supplies in order to run those classes. So actually what I'm really encouraged by is society has some brilliant ideas to how to make sure no one is left behind, which is the core underlying goal of the global goals, leave no one behind. Society recognises that if we're to encourage supermarkets to redistribute food surplus, we've got to be there as communities to pick it up and do something useful with it, and to make sure that it's getting to those people who really need that help. So we've got literally hundreds of projects that are connecting food at an ultra-local level, and we're starting to capture all of those stories for companies like Marks and Spencer's who can prove the contribution that they have made.
Can you, again, taking it down to the practical level, the sort of lowest level, person X has a tray of tomatoes. How does it work?
So we don't help one individual food to another individual. We help a company. What we know is these food surplus charities, food banks, are brilliant at using whatever you've got to give them. This is what they do because they work with what they get. So I believe that most organisations who are receiving surplus food will know what to do with a tray of tomatoes or whatever they get.
So you deal with the actual organisations who are keyed into this system already, as opposed to providing a sort of day-to-day practical application of the idea. Organisation X or person X has this to give away, it can go there.
Well, so a store, what we're doing is automating a daily journey between store and local community projects. So the automated system that Neighbourly is allows a store, at the back of store, any given day to say, well, what have we got? Well, we've got three trays of vegetables, one mixed goods, etc. And literally using desktop technology or a phone app, within a series of clicks, they can post what it is that they've got. That notification goes straight to an alert on the dashboard within Neighbourly, but it also goes as a closed alert to a couple of projects that they've already got a relationship with. The way Neighbourly works is, in order for a project to receive food, they've got to upload their food hygiene certificate to make sure that they're safe, and then the connection can be formed. It then allows Neighbourly to stay completely away. There's no manual intervention at all. It's a fully automated system. The supermarket posts, the close alert gets sent, the individual project at the other end clicks the button to say, yes, we will take this. That alert goes back to the supermarket, and then the project goes and collects at 10 o'clock the next day when they're asked to, and they put it in the back of their car, and then they click to say, yes, we have collected. And all of that's happening in an entirely automated system that's tracking the CO2 and the tonnage of what's getting redistributed. Because this was the problem before for all the supermarkets. They knew that some of their stores were doing this, but they don't have the data.
Are there any plans to, surely you've heard of investors in people, are there any plans to create something like that, where organisations receive a stamp of approval from you?
I hope that Neighbourly will become its own stamp of approval. It already is. So we've already got Marks and Spencer's, Starbucks and Heineken promoting Neighbourly and almost giving us joint billing within their communication, saying, we as a brand are using Neighbourly because it helps us show the good that we're doing for society. In the same way that companies for years have said, find us on Facebook, I think they'll start saying, find us on Neighbourly. And Neighbourly will become a badge of authentication, because anyone will be able to go and look at the company's homepage and say, wow, actually this company's done 220 projects and they've given all of this money and all of this food. I'm really quite impressed. So I think we do become a bit of a badge of authentication. With regards ourselves, what about us? What kind of a company are we? And it's important to talk about the fact that we're a B Corporation, a certified B Corporation. Have you heard of those?
I haven't.
Oh, good. I can tell you about B. B Corporations are a movement that came over from the US. It launched in the UK in September last year. We were one of the founding 50. A B Corp is a for-profit company that has made a legally binding decision to prioritise people and planet alongside profit. So you have to change your articles of association and get that ratified by the board, and go through a very sophisticated scorecard in order to prove that you are an organisation that is genuinely acting for people and for planet. It's the closest that a for-profit company can get to being a CIC or a charity. And that really reflects our purpose, the intention by which Neighbourly is set up, to be authentic ourselves. It's a bit of a qualifier for us. If we expect to work with companies who have a desire to show that they want to do well by the world, well, of course, we have to show that as well. And that's how we do it.
So where did the spark for this idea come from, and when did it come to you?
Right, so this is the backstory. So, and back to your gentleman friend that you were talking about, where he was slightly cynical about people's motivations. That resonates with me because I took quite a big risk to do this. I was previously managing director of a communications agency. I was doing quite a lot of work in 2006 and 2007 with an idea that I had, which was, as the big brands that I work with get more global, they're definitely losing touch with local, and we should do something about that. And we started getting quite good at helping organisations like Tesco or some of the car brands that we work with be very good at point cast. So there was always a reason that was a local reason as to why one store would perform differently to another. And we would go into that community and understand what it is that was different, and try and, firstly, improve the marketing mix, improve the advertising. But the real breakthrough was when we had an events team. We started using that events team to go and ask, well, what does this community actually need? What could Jaguar Land Rover do, or what could Tesco do that would make a meaningful difference? And we always found a project. We always found that there was something that the community needed help with. And we convinced our clients to put their money into those projects instead of into advertising, and we very quickly proved that sentiment, reputation, footfall and commercial opportunity all turned around far faster than any advertising that you could do. So we tried to scale it up, but it was manual, and it meant our agency was getting bigger and bigger, and actually there was a limit to how much we could do and our clients by doing this manually. And that really gave insight to, hang on a minute, there must be a way of using digital technology to recognise this need. Companies want to do more locally. Communities ready to engage and ready to listen. There's no way of doing it. So I decided that it was time to reform the ad man in me, this career that I had selling stuff, particularly through the teeth of the recession when, the world really didn't need any more stuff. IKEA talk about peak stuff. It's a brilliant concept. And I thought, well, I must be able to use my skills to make a meaningful impact, to make a difference. But I had to take some risks to do that. We had to sell the house, and in order to basically start from scratch to get this thing done. I suppose the thing that I had was I had a huge amount of insight from the fact that I had been doing this manually. I really knew it would work. I knew somebody had to build it. And I reckoned that I probably had enough insight in order to be the person to push for it. I also knew that if we were going to do it, we had to have an ambition. If we were targeting the biggest brands in the world, to be global, to make it a unifier of every type of giving. And I knew that it would take a long time. And here we are 3.5 years in. And we're now just getting to a real tipping point where actually we've got the next wave of brilliant brands following the work that's been done, saying, actually, we want to join this.
What made you, in the first instance, go into advertising and marketing?
I'm a natural communicator and I really enjoy strategy. In everything I've always done, it's been about trying to understand how to engage people, engage customers, citizens, and this is, I suppose, for me, the latest step in that career. I was getting disillusioned by the fact that engaging people always meant selling at them. But let's not lose sight of the fact that business, with what we're doing with Neighbourly, still wants to sell, but they just want to do it appropriately. And I think that's the important thing. That for me, there will always be commerce, but I think increasingly as sophisticated contemporary consumers post-COP21, we're all going to start making decisions really actively, day to day, saying, I could choose brand A or I could choose brand B. Which one is better for the planet? And so I think it's fine, it's acceptable. Consumers find it acceptable. The brands that do the right thing are okay. They're allowed to make money. And if they make money and continue to put that back into doing the right thing, then that's good. And so this is still indirectly about selling, but it's about behaving appropriately and earning your place within society that gives you reason to exist.
Tell us a little bit about your childhood. School.
Wow,
What was school like?
So I really do come from a communications background, a family steeped in the industry. My dad ran a mailing house, so all the way back to the age of 5 or 6, I was knocking around in the back of no child labour, but I would occasionally visit the factory and I would see the enclosing lines and mess around with the glue rollers. So I suppose communication has been in the family. I've had my sister and cousin both worked in media. So I suppose that really informed the career that I eventually pursued. I wasn't particularly academic. I was much more interested in practical, real things. And I think I got to work. I joined a direct marketing agency called WAV, as it was back in the day, which then became WAV Rap Collins, which then became RAP, which is still going today. And I joined there at 20, and really, I suppose, as early 20-something, really connected with the industry and what it is that we were doing. I really found my passion around creativity and clever strategies to understand people and to engage with them.
Are you political?
Not particularly. I share, I suppose, much of the frustration that many younger generations find, that actually the political system doesn't engage them and it's too often too self-serving. I believe that localism, as befits Neighbourly, really fits into a lot of my political views. If I look at where I believe local government or cities have been run well and are making an effective contribution and showing genuine leadership, I've seen that being about individuals, perhaps more than party policy. I've been very impressed by some independent candidates that I've seen do some really great things. So I try not to be overly political, but I do look for progress and I look for that.
And presumably real evidence that they're tackling big issues in the same way Neighbourly is helping people to do.
I believe that people are the answer, and I think we have to empower them and provide a little leadership. Of course, there's a strong argument to say a lot of society hasn't got this yet, that a lot of society still doesn't recycle, still doesn't really understand and believe the data that actually increasingly is being put upon them. But the sheer momentum and weight of evidence that is coming now, I think a lot of people were so surprised about the agreement to COP21, not even just to achieve that, but then to agree to go after 1.5%, with 180 countries unanimously agreeing, and before that the Sustainable Development Goals, and now brands who are the brilliant architects of engaging people, really getting on this journey. I think we have a joint responsibility, anyone that's able to influence this, to bring together business, government and citizens to show that we can work together. And that's what I mean by saying I look for real practical local examples of public authority leveraging its capability and skill set to try and get others started. I think that's the real power in government and local government.
What makes you angry? Are there any major injustices in the world that you rail against, and maybe in addition to Neighbourly you'd like to get your teeth into?
I don't use angry because it's just a waste of time. I pursue with all my effort what it is that I'm doing now, 110%, and the rest of my team, they're an amazing team. And you know why? Because they really buy into what Neighbourly is capable of achieving. So we're all absolutely focused on trying to fix the problem that's in front of us. And we're going after something rather monumental here. We are trying to create the world's social network for social good. We can't call ourselves that yet because we haven't built it, but that's the vision. And if we achieve that, then we really will have made a massive difference. But I suppose what's important is, as a facilitator, there are many brilliant people that can tackle water stewardship and get the plastics out of our oceans. And so for lots of things that I could be angry about, but I know that if I can create the platform that helps these brands, who I believe really are the catalyst in the solution, if I can provide the place that helps them get recognition and reward for doing the right stuff, then I could be activating a whole bunch of capability around all of those really important issues that need fixing.
You have a lot of energy, clearly, and a lot of drive. Do you take after somebody in your family who is similar?
No, I don't think I do, really. I suppose, no, that's a really interesting question. No, and nobody really understands where I get this from either, interestingly. I suppose I am a sort of individual that is always 110%. So even in my career previously, when I was working for a PLC, I still had the same ambition to try and create something around this concept of localization. I could see that there was something different, and I really went after it. I am hugely motivated by Neighbourly now, because it's a chance to build a business, but it's a chance to build a contemporary, appropriate, responsible business that can actually really bring others on a journey. So no, it's not really inherited, it's just me.
Bloomberg have spotted Neighbourly as being one of the key organisations that has the potential to change the way we think, the way we live, and the way we act.
That's rather marvellous, isn't it?
It is. Who in your life helped you reach this point? Who were the chief believers in you? Because everybody needs people to believe in them, to propel them forward.
That's really interesting. Obviously, my wife and my two boys, who are 15 and 12, I think what's really interesting about the two of them is they get it. They get Neighbourly and why massively more than many of my peers, potentially, because they're growing up in this generation. And fair play to the school system when they come back and say, we learnt about responsible business today. And I'm saying, sorry, you learnt about, not business, you learnt about responsible business. Yeah, we had a whole class on acting appropriately and with authenticity. I'm very impressed. So they really get it, and they believe in what Neighbourly's trying to achieve. I made a critical hire, my number two, Zoe, who I worked with at EMO, the previous agency, and we have a really natural partnership and intuitive understanding of the contributions we both make. So Zoe completely believed in our vision before in the last agency. She massively believes in the vision that Neighbourly is now, and she believes in my ability to lead that vision. Zoe's a brilliant colleague in that she delivers and just gets stuff done, and so we have that really wonderful relationship. But I'm not going to go too far beyond those, because most of my motivation is really, it's not about other people, it's about me. It's about proving everybody that I can do this, that this is right. In the face of, many detractors who will tell you, and you've probably heard this many times, oh, you'll never do it, it'll never work, somebody will be ahead of you, somebody will get more money, you'll prove it's a good idea, and somebody will come and out-budget you Oh, so many reasons why you mustn't do it, and that just drives me on, because if you've done the work and you've done your market research and you're reading ahead of everybody else, so you know that the SDGs are going to become relevant to business in 3 years' time, then it's easy to stay true to your course and believe that you'll get there.
What are the key milestone achievements that you're aiming for over the next 5 years?
Yeah, okay. So we're getting to a really important tipping point now. We've built the platform, we've proven it works, we've proven it scales, we've proven that we can attract the best brands in the world. That's all excellent. We're adding in some really important functionality now where we're making it much easier to individually volunteer as an individual alongside other companies. And then the next bit in a couple of weeks' time will be, I want to put my tenner in alongside the money that companies are giving. Then we'll get to a very interesting full product set. But where the product goes next is interesting for the fact that it then needs to become fun, intuitive and engaging and about sharing. So we will start to really reach out to build an audience of projects and citizens who engage with Neighbourly. We haven't prioritised it yet because we haven't wanted to get too many projects too early. We've wanted to make sure the platform works and that the companies are there. But now it's time to go and get them and to start to build a real national reputation so that people join in. But we will also, later this year, really push the international piece and start launching in other countries and work out which partners on the ground we can do that with in order to go for scale. So, in 3 years' time, I would expect companies to be getting increasingly sophisticated in how they brief society by using Neighbourly as a tool, but doing that across a global strategy, a global campaign idea in different countries. But in 3 years' time, we'll really, I believe, start to see companies collaborating together. So let's take water stewardship, for example. Why wouldn't you get a group of organisations who all have water at the core of their product, like Coca-Cola, for example, all working together to really try and do something meaningful at a grassroots local level, but using a platform like Neighbourly to do it.
Are you looking for investors?
We are sort of. So our funding is good, but because we're getting inbound requests for timings on international now, we're going to do a bridging round to get a bit more money. In other words, we're going to stay private, I think, for a bit longer, because we can, and raise a small amount of money to take us on another 10 months just to get us through these immediate challenges. And then I think we will probably then start looking for institutional investment spring next year, because at that time we'll have shown that we're in multiple countries, we'll have shown that we're acquiring brands and users fast, and that will be the point to go and raise, I suppose, the big money in order to really accelerate our growth. So that's our current trajectory at this point in time.
Are you looking for staff?
Always. So we are 24 people now. We've got an incredible dev team who have built an amazing product. And it's easy to say if we had some more developers we could go faster, but they're such a tight team and well focused on their product. We're always looking for brilliant people who can join our client engagement team, because we're doing a lot to work with our big clients to help them shape the communication ideas that they've got and to help them integrate their own colleagues into a program. And we're also looking for people who just love projects and know where they are to try and help recruit those projects. So yes, we're always looking for people. We're down in Bristol, and certainly when we get to that point of real scale-up funding, we'll be looking for people at quite a rate, I would anticipate.
As a final point, in what way is Neighbourly going to change our world?
Neighbourly is going to change everyone's behaviour so that everyone, companies and people, do their bit as a matter of course. That we all believe we should be doing more volunteering and giving more. At the moment, giving's a bit of a transaction. You've done it, I've done it. A friend needs sponsoring to climb up a mountain, and we make that contribution. But we don't really engage. And what I believe is, people start to engage, they'll start to understand what the global goals are and why it's important for our planet, and they'll start to be receptive to the businesses that lead them to that place, thank them for that, and then perhaps buy from them. So Neighbourly, what will Neighbourly do to make a difference to the world? We have a vision to be the biggest facilitator of good, to become the social network for social good, and to do it by ensuring that by working together, people get more fun and more reward from doing so.
Nick Davies, founder of Neighbourly, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure.